as well as the reasons that underpin it, so that our future operations and our future decisions can be attuned to the reasonings that to the reasons that that will be availed to the Commission and broadly to society later this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, CEO. I'm going to open the floor for questions. You'll be introducing yourself and the media house you come from, and then pose a question. Thank you very much.
Good day, colleagues. My name is Mark from SWC News. Just a few questions that I have here.
Just increase your volume a little bit.
Sorry?
Increase your volume a little bit.
Okay. So my name is Mark from SWC News. I just want to find out which areas specifically have actually experienced this process that you are mentioning. And the other question that I have is, what about the homeless? Have there been any efforts made to make sure that they are not left behind during this voter registration weekend? And we also have unresolved cases of victims of identity theft. Should these victims stand a chance to have their voices heard on November the 1st?
Okay.
Good day. My name is Paul Mamusa from the Voice of Africa. I just want to two questions. One, the online system, are there any challenges that you experience, specifically in the rural areas, considering that there is a massive IEC infrastructure problem? And then two, any provisions made to social people on registration?
I've got a third hand here. After that, we'll respond to the round of questions.
Thank you. My name is Kumota Marinane. I'm from Kawa 97. I just want to ask the IEC if you are happy with the number of people who are taking advantage of the online system. And this morning I was at Midrand, I think it was Ward 77, at around 10:30, the voting station was not open yet. Has there been other similar incidents that have been reported in other parts of the province and in the country? Thank you.
Let me allow the CEO to respond before we take another round of questions. Fatima Mabulo.
Yes, insofar as the areas of protest are concerned, we've seen some in Soweto, and then some in KZN, around the Pietermaritzburg area, in Limpopo, in Zanin, Linyanye, the Linyanye area. But I think we want to clarify the point that the number of these protests are very minute in relation to the total population of voting stations. We have 23,151 voting stations, and the problem areas are less than 60, as we indicate in the statement. So on a proportion basis, there's very little disruption. Now, having said so, we are working with the law enforcement agencies to ensure that we are operational even in those less than 60 voting stations, because people who are resident in those voting districts have rights to participate in the political process. And this process that we are about over this weekend is initiated to vindicate their rights to vote. So we'll spare no effort to ensure that we are operational at those points. The homeless, indeed, our processes are not discriminatory. The requirement for participation in the election is that you must be a South African citizen, and you must be in possession of some kind of identity document. It may be a smart card, it may be a green barcoded ID book, or even a temporary identification certificate. For as long as you meet those two requirements, you are eligible to register to vote. So persons who don't have homes in which they live, they can give us a description of where they live, and that will be competent for purposes of registration. The Concord has acknowledged that persons who don't have a proper address, they can give descriptions of where they live. We did indicate that we consciously took our VMD and our online registration portal offline for 2 hours this morning. That was a conscious decision on our part because we're experiencing a technical glitch on the mapping functionality. We did that in order to attend to that problem. But it's important that at least on the VMD portion of the service, there was no service interruption. Even as we are offline, we are able to continue capturing people, and people don't have to wait and say, we are not functional, we are not online, therefore the station is closed. No, it doesn't work that way. When we took it down, it was a conscious decision on our part. Service continued to capture people. So that there is no service interruption at the voting station. On the online registration portal, it took a little longer to restore the operations. A few minutes before we came here, we had restored the online registration system. That online registration remains open beyond 5 o'clock today. So you can do it from the leisure of your home, even after we close today at 5. You can do it even beyond Sunday, because it will only close on midnight on Monday, the 20th of September, 2021. Of course, if you are in special circumstances and are unable to visit a voting station, the regulations do permit for an application to be made on your behalf to be visited by a voting official. So a family member can fill in an REC2 form application for you to be visited by officials of the IEC. So a visit is possible for persons in special circumstances, and that is upon application for that person. Today, we have, just before 12, there were 10,000 persons who had registered online just before we commenced with this media briefing. When we restored the online service, there were 7,500 concurrent people active on the system. So there's great interest by people, and we think that that interest will be sustained over the balance of today, as well as the next 2 days, being tomorrow and Monday. Of course, we are not happy that we have had to take down the system ourselves, because it created a bit of frustration. We wish to say to our citizens out there, it's something that we do not cherish, and that is receiving our utmost attention. The voting station in Midrand, we will look at that. We had not specifically received a report about that, but the point of the matter, the central point that we are making, is that as at about 9 this morning, 98% of our voting stations were operational, and that is a high number. The 59 or so that could not open due to some kind of community protest. We've worked with the South African Police Service and the local leadership to restore the operations. We do, of course, expect increased activity in the afternoon, as well as activity tomorrow, greater and increased activity tomorrow. And we are getting up to meet that increased interest from members of the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CEO. Let
Dr.
me
Matt.
take the last round of questions before we wrap up this afternoon's briefing. I see a hand. Yes, Ndate, please proceed. Yeah.
Media needs a point. What are the reasons for this system to be taken down? Was this not foreseeable? Was it not avoidable? Is this what we are going to see tomorrow as well on the last day of the vote registration?
Looks like that was the only hand. I'm not missing any hands. Yes. CEO will also deal with the question around the victims of identity theft from the earlier round. All right. There's only one question from the floor. On my system online, I'm not picking up any other questions. CEO.
The problem with why we took down the online system, as I indicated, it was a glitch on the mapping interface. Couldn't it have been foreseen? Look, when you deal with online systems, they have their own types of vagaries, which you can never predict 100%, which is why in building up our system, we made it possible to function online and to function offline, precisely because the vagaries that are inherent in an online ecosystem are such that there are things that cannot be predictable. It may work well without a problem, and then the very next day it gives problems. That is true for even your systems in your work environment. You find that everywhere. Hence, our plan was function online as a desirable state of affairs, but function offline if circumstances present and necessitate such a change. The issue of identity theft, I don't quite understand the question. Perhaps we should repeat that.
Okay. The question was that how do we deal with victims of identity theft as it relates to voter registration weekend? If someone's identification has been tampered with and they're not able to register, how do we deal with that? It was from the floor, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No, sure. The custodian of national identity is the Department of Home Affairs. They are the people who have authority to decide who gets onto the national population register. And in line with that situation, they issue documentation to vindicate a person's citizenship. So what we do when we register a person, we verify you against the national population register. So if Home Affairs says to us, this person is a citizen, we will place you on the voters roll. But if we receive your application and upon verification on the national population register, it transpires that you are considered not to be a citizen. Maybe you are a permanent resident, or maybe your identity document is fraudulent and so on. Then in those circumstances, you are not placed on the voters roll, and you'll be told as such.
Thank you so much, CEO. I think all the questions have been covered. even online, there's no activity, I believe that you are covering them from this end. On that note, allow me to end this afternoon's press briefing. We'll keep in touch in terms of technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Honorable.
you, CEO and team. Commissioners, thank you, Siyabonga. Thank you, TCOs.
We'll go back to
disable the mapping functionality because the complaints are so
Yes.
Let me check if there no one for individuals.
Hey,
You want,
but,
okay. That is money.
let's move on.
I only have requests from SABC for bilateral with the CEO. Everybody has covered. All covered. Okay, brilliant. CEO Skatsamane, Skansia.
You're okay with that? The online class.
Mostly, CEO.
They want it.
Yeah, SABC.
Oh,
Is there bilateral?
okay. If they are going there, just
Yeah. Which are we going to use the bowl for the CEO?